In this week's MXTV bike review, we take a look at the 2009 RMZ250 from Suzuki. The brand new RMZ250 isn't as heavily redesigned as previous years, but the changes that have been done are certainly significant. First up, this year's Z250 has the same basic engine characteristics, but with a little hint of oomph where it counts. The 249cc mill still puts out plenty of power, and the majority of it is still in the mid-range and upper RPM. Finding a higher gear in the 5-speed tranny is easy as, and the judder springs and a redesigned shift lever and clutch cable bracket provide enhancements to another of the Suzuki's strong points. If you've got a busy left foot and typically find yourself on the rev limiter, the Suzuki is a great fit as it likes to shift. Not only is working the clutch lever extremely easy, but it's also less cluttered on that side of the oversized Renthal handlebars, due to the hot start being moved to a thumb-operated position on the throttle side. The other big highlight of the Z250 is the chassis. Both suspension components have received updates, and both the front and rear shower components continue to offer one of the plushest rides available on a stock quarter-litre. It also has a thick new look, as the radiator cover and number plate graphics are brand new for 2009. The addition of a new gripper seat with projected cross-shaped patterns on the top surface also provide additional grip for the rider. So overall, although Suzuki haven't rewritten the book on the 2009 250 RMZ, they definitely have made enough real changes to easily notice the improvements and the quality we've come to expect from the boys on yellow. The 2009 RMZ250 is available in Australia now and will retail for around $9,990. For a competitive quote on your insurance, call QBE Insurance, the motorcycle insurance specialists, on 1800 24 34 64. Now, let's check out what our test riders thought.
First up, let me tell you, when we got this bike from Suzuki, it was brand spanking new, straight out of the box. So we had to run it in, and we also had to break the suspension in. Now, I don't know whether we've broken the suspension in completely, but it certainly softened up during the day. When I first got the bike, my impressions were there were some pretty trick bits on the bike and some bits that Suzuki have really thought about, like the fly clutch, the hot start on the right side, and there's some little trick bits like a gold chain. When I first jumped on it and rode it and started it, the major thing that I noticed was 94 decibels. The exhaust system on this is unbelievable. It's so quiet, it's almost like an enduro bike. One thing about this bike is it's got a lot of pull from the mid-range and then it tapers out quite quickly. It might be that you just change a couple of sprockets and that'll fix it. The front end to me felt a little bit fat and a little bit heavy. It felt very stable on the ground and it felt very stable as I was riding it. It probably doesn't turn as good as some of the other bikes I've ridden. Gee, for somebody of my standard, it's a nice, easy bike to ride. Real easy, mellow power, great mid-range, and not a real lot of over-rev, so it's not gonna, throw you all over the place.
Today, the windy, dusty conditions were quite a handful. The wind made it very difficult to jump. The dusty conditions made it hard to track and turn corners and have fun. You have to really concentrate to get around the track today. Look, it took a few laps. Being predominantly a 450 rider, it took quite a few laps for me to get used to the RMZ250. The power comes on fairly slowly. It's very, very restricted in its engine output with the muffler, but after a little while you do get used to it and it's a lot more comfortable to ride. I really found the RMZ250 to struggle top end. The gear ratio is so close together, which does make for a fairly good acceleration, but in the long tracks, I think it's going to struggle. Yeah, I found it hard to, on the last half of a big sweeping corner, coming out of it as fast as you possibly could go, I found it very hard to steer the front end to get into where I wanted to go. You could do it, but it meant taking some risks that I really don't want to take. I did feel that the suspension could probably do with some serious revalving on the front end. The back end was quite good, but the front end didn't quite steer where we wanted it to go. Look, it's a great little package. It's a great bike, but I think it really suits a beginner to an intermediate rider rather than a pro. You got to work fairly hard to get it around the track at a reasonable pace. And a lot of guys don't really want to work. They just want to hop on it and go for a ride.
It's time to let the throw go.
Oh, the Suzuki sneaking in just under the Honda CRF 450R there with a 2:30 30. Who knows, with the right conditions it could have been even quicker. Okay, let's see how it goes on the Pro quarter mile. Well, an 8:45 there into a pretty stiff headwind. But the real question is, what was he thinking looking off the track like that? You'd think he might be a bit quicker if he watched where he was going. Then again, who knows with the Pro.